So welcome to the Psalms Compressed. Today we will look into Psalm number 47. And this psalm is a celebration psalm. It is joyful, triumphant, and expansive in its vision. It invites not only Israel but all nations to lift their voices in praise. And this psalm moves our focus beyond personal faith and national identity, and places us before the throne of the sovereign God, the King over all the earth. Clap your hands, all you peoples. Shout to God with loud songs of joy. For the Lord, the Most High, is awesome, a great King over all the earth. So the psalm begins with an imperative, like clap, shout, sing. And worship here, it is not quiet or reserved, it is embodied, it's expressive, and it's also communal. And notice who is invited here: all peoples. So not just Israel. From the very first verse, God's reign is declared universal. I don't know about you, but I'm not good at this, to clap or shout or sing, even dance. I'm rather reserved and stiff, I have to admit, but I do love music. I do like to sing, perhaps not so much in public. But the reign here is in fact before it is a feeling. Human praise does not install God on the throne. It acknowledges the throne that already exists. This guards worship from becoming self-centered or emotion-driven. Praise is the response to revealed truth. Psalm 47 reminds us that the Lord is not a tribal deity or a regional power. He is the Most High, exalted above all rulers, systems and cultures. Worship becomes the proper response to recognizing reality. God already reigns. And this invites us to examine how we approach God. Do we worship as those who are mildly appreciative, or as those who stand before the King of all the earth? He subdued peoples under us and nations under our feet. He chose our heritage for us, the pride of Jacob, whom he loves. These verses reflect Israel's historical experience of God's guidance and victory. Yet, the emphasis is not on Israel's strength or virtue, it is on God's action. He subdued, he chose, and he loves. And this is a crucial devotional lesson. God's people often forget that their story is not self-authored. Psalm 47 reminds us that God is the initiator and sustainer of redemption. Whatever security Israel enjoyed came not from military might, but from divine faithfulness. For modern readers, this invites reflection on where we place our trust. We may not be conquering nations, but we often rely on our planning, resources, and our influence. Psalm 47 gently recenters us. Our lives, our callings, and our future, they are ultimate in God's hands. God has gone up with a shout, the Lord with the sound of a trumpet. Sing praises to God, sing praises. Sing praises to our King, sing praises. Here this imagery shifts to a royal procession. God is portrayed as ascending his throne amid celebration, shouts and trumpet blasts. And this language evokes coronation, God publicly acknowledged as king. And many Christian readers see in this an echo of Christ's ascension. After his resurrection, Jesus ascends in glory, seated at the right hand of the Father, ruling over heaven and earth. So whether read in its original context or through the lens of the New Testament, this moment is about enthronement. The reception of Sing Praises underscores that worship is the natural response to God's kingship. Praise is not filler, it is proclamation. When we praise, we are declaring who God is and what is true about the world. And this calls us to praise even when circumstances feels unstable. God's throne is not threatened by chaos, injustice, or uncertainty. Praise becomes an act of trust, affirming that God still reigns. For God is the King of all the earth. Sing praises with a psalm. Some translations render this as sing praises with understanding. And this verse reminds us that worship is not just emotional, it is thoughtful. True praise flows from knowing who God is. Psalm 47 does not ask us to generate joy out of nothing. It roots worship in truth. God is King of all the earth. So when our praise is informed by theology, it becomes deeper and more resilient. We can worship not just when we feel uplifted, but when we are grounded in what we know to be true. And this verse invites us to cultivate a faith that engages the mind as well as the heart. Studying Scripture, reflecting on God's character and remembering His works, all fuel meaningful worship. God is King over the nations. God sits on the holy throne. The princes of the peoples gathered as the people of the God of Abraham. For the shields of the earth belong to God. He is highly exalted. The psalm concludes with a sweeping wisdom. God reigning over all nations, rulers gathered under his authority. Even the shield of the earth, symbols of power and defense, belong to him. And this is a powerful corrective to fear. Political power rises and falls. Leaders come and they go. But Psalm 47 reminds us that no authority exists outside God's sovereignty. He is not competing for power. All power already belongs to him. So for us, this brings both a comfort but also a challenge. Comfort because nothing ultimately escapes God's control, and a challenge because allegiance to God transcends national, cultural, and political identities. Psalm 47 invites us to, in a way, lift our eyes. It calls us out of small, anxious faith into a grand vision of a reigning God. It teaches us that worship is both joyful and reverent. It is expressive and thoughtful. And also it's personal, but it's also global. I also think that this psalm teaches us that God's kingship is universal and unchallenged. And worship is a response to truth, not a substitute for it. And Christ's ascension confirms the psalm's ultimate fulfillment. I hope that not only this psalm, of course, But perhaps today, especially this Psalm 47, will lead us into deeper confidence, a fuller praise, and a renewed awe before the King, who is King over all the earth.